Let us see one example program for void function without parameters. To find factorial of a given number using void function without parameters. Void function without parameters. First, we are going to initialize the header files #include stdio.h. Next, so before main, we need to write function prototype, or it is also called as function declaration, function prototype or function declaration. So in order to write this function declaration, we need to use according to this given problem statement, that is void function without parameters. So in order to specify that, first we need to write void, the function name is factorial. Within the brackets we are not going to pass any parameters, so this is what we are going to call it as void function without parameters. Next, int main. So here I am going to call the direct function, that is factorial function. Factorial, I am directly calling this factorial function, return 0. So here in the function definition, that is the user defined section, I am going to define the function, and here the name of this is function call, or we are going to call it as calling function. Function call or calling function. So this is called as function prototype or function declaration. So here we are going to call this function and we are going to write the definition part of this function. Here I am going to initialize a variable int I for iterations, and f equal to 1, and if at all if I want this number to be at runtime, that is I want to give the n number factorial, I am going to initialize the variable n. So let me write the printf statement, enter the value of n, enter the value of n. Scanf, we are going to read the value of n, %d address of n. So this is how we are going to read the value of n. Now I am going to use for loop for I equal to 1, I less than or equal to n, I plus plus. Now here we are going to write the logic, that is what is the factorial value we are going to get it. So f equal to f star I, f equal to f star I. Printf, so here we are going to print the value. The factorial of %d is %d. The first %d is n, and the next %d is I. Sorry, the next %d is f. So this is how we are going to use the functions. So whatever this we have written, this is an user defined function. So here this is also called as function definition, or it is also called as called function. It is also called as called function. Now let me execute this and check whether I am going to get the correct factorial of a given number or not using void function without parameters. Here we are going to enter the value of n. Let me enter the value of n as 5. So the factorial of 5 is 120. Factorial of 5 is 120. So this is how we are going to execute the void function without parameters for any given problem statement. The very important thing which you need to remember over is how we need to write the function prototype, how we need to use the function call, and how we can use the function definition or called function. So this is very important as part of this function. And as we have discussed the advantage of function. The advantage of function is code reusability. You write the code once, wherever we require we can access that code. That is what the code reusability. Write once and we can use many times. Now here if I want to use once again the factorial, so I can just call that function name. So how many times if at all if I am calling, those many times I can get the factorial. Now here in this code I am calling the factorial for 3 times. Now let me execute this code and show you how you are going to get the factorial of the different numbers. So first it asks enter the value of n. So the first time I am giving the n value as 4. So it is giving me the factorial of 4 is 24. Next I am going to give the factorial of 5. So the factorial of 5 is 120. Next I am going to give 6. The factorial of 6 is 720. So this is how we can write the code once, that is the user defined function once, and we can call within the main n number of times depending upon our requirement. So this is how we are going to use the void function without parameters. The flow of execution in the void function without parameters will be from top to bottom only. So whatever the value of this function, it cannot be returned back to the main. So it is having only top to bottom flow. That is what we call it as downward flow. So in this given function, void function without parameters, there is downward flow.